Okay, we're gonna call this meeting of the Lawndale City Council to order at 6:33. I'm gonna ask the city clerk to give us the roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Reed. Oh, Osborne.
And I was
Councilmember.
I was looking at Reed like that's your name.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Councilmember Suarez.
Present.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
And Mayor Pullen Miles.
Here.
Did I get them all?
See, that just demonstrates that we get fixed to a pattern. We don't know how to act if the pattern changes. Okay, thank you for that, Madam City Clerk. Next item on our agenda is going to be our flag salute, going to be held by Councilwoman Bernadette Suarez, and we're going to ask for a word of inspiration by Pastor Douglas Gates from the House of Celebration.
Please stand. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Mayor, Pastor George Magnolini of Hope Chapel in Hawthorne, he always reminds me to give you his best regards. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you that you are our God. We praise your holy name for all that you have done and is doing in our great city, Lawndale. Thank you for your great leadership team that you have given us. As we continue to grow, it is our prayer you continue to use them for the growth and development of our city. As we continue to grow commercially, there will be growing pains. We trust you, Lord, to see us through as we go into the city that you desire us to be. Be with us, Lord, as you continue to grow this greatness in this city that you have planned for us. We thank you, Lord, for the leadership that you have given us, and we thank you for being our great God and King. We thank you for your great Son, our Lord, great Lord Jesus Christ. Lead us as we continue to guide us in the development and the continued growth of this great city that you have given us through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Gates.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask the city manager, Steve Mendoki, to make a special introduction of our new captain.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council members, with us tonight at his first city council meeting is our new captain, Dwayne Allen. We're very pleased to have him on board. He was part of a process that involved an interview with, I think we had 10 candidates from the Sheriff's Department who had applied to be our next captain. And I'd already told him the competition was very, very good. We had some extremely well-qualified candidates, but we had a panel that consisted of 2 members from the Board of Supervisors, myself, Councilmember Pat Kearney, and we had a pastor from the South Central LA area, Mr. Potter, I believe his last name was. Porter. Really good group of people that were interviewing all the candidates, and Captain Allen was our choice, and we were very pleased to welcome him to the city. He was also in the parade a week ago already, making his way into the city, but I'll introduce him this evening, and he'll probably want to say a few more words. He's had a lot of experience. He's worked at a number of facilities, including the Hall of Justice, Century Station, and I think a couple of terms out in Altadena where they really miss you, I understand.
Oh, yeah, they do. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Captain Allen.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here in front of you, and it was a great process, and it's just so wonderful that I'm able to be here as the captain of SLA Station and be here over the city of Lawndale. I didn't realize that when I got this job that you're going to put on a parade for me within a week, but I really appreciate it. So it was very nice, and so it was. I had a great time, and it was really good. I don't know, is it at this time I do the public, you want to go ahead and do the public safety report? So like I said, once again, I know I was going to be called up here so early, I didn't have enough time to get nervous, so I'll go ahead and get started. So as I said, good evening, Mr. Mayor and the members of the City Council. It's a pleasure for me to be up here in front of you today. I'm here tonight to present you with the safety report from April 15th through May 5th. There are 3 noteworthy incidents I'd like to talk to you about that are going to show you the great work that your deputies are doing and also some citizens in your community. On March 31st, Deputy Johnson wrote an identity theft report. The victim was actually the daughter of a deputy sheriff that actually lived here in the city of Lawndale. During the investigation, Detective Vidrio obtained a video from a 7-Eleven when the stolen cards and things of that nature were stolen. The suspect used those cards and tried to use them at the 7-Eleven, so we were able to get the video of the actual suspect. Deputies viewed the video, and Deputy Saldana recognized the suspect from a previous contact here in the city of Lawndale. On April 18th, Saldana actually located and arrested the suspect. Detective Vidrio conducted a photographic lineup with the people from 7-Eleven to confirm that this was indeed the person that was using the stolen credit cards. The suspect was positively identified and was subsequently arrested for using stolen credit cards. That was a great arrest and investigation on your deputies and detectives here in the city of Lawndale. The second one is on the morning of April 24th, Deputy Saldana once again was driving the 4500 block of 166th Street. He observed 3 males who were standing, I think, kind of suspiciously around a motorcycle in a driveway. As he got closer to him, he saw that one of the males tried to hide a glass pipe, which is, for us, is used a lot of times for smoking methamphetamine or cocaine. And he saw another male immediately begin to try to walk away, as folks have a tendency to do when they see, deputy sheriffs moving in on them. Deputy Saldana detained the 2 males for a narcotics investigation while ordering another male to come back to him. The male complied. The first male with the pipe was placed under arrest for having narco paraphernalia on him. The second male, he stated that the motorcycle belonged to him. However, upon running the vehicle's license plate, it didn't come back to that person. So a stolen motorcycle investigation was conducted, and that person was subsequently arrested for a reasonable cause arrest for the stolen motorcycle. The third person, it was determined that the third person in the group was on probation and he had search conditions on him, and he was actually on probation for stealing vehicles. We did a probation search of his home, and during the search, we actually ended up getting blank checks, laptops, Bank of America customer receipts, stolen credit cards. So that person was actually also arrested for identity theft, and all 3 were ended up booked at our South LA station. The last one occurred on May 4th. It was early in the afternoon. A young man was walking on 162nd Street, and he was approached by 2 males. The males ordered that victim, the young man, to give him his cell phone. The young man wouldn't give him his cell phone, and the 2 men then proceeded to punch him and take his cell phone from him. Obviously, this was a robbery. The 2 males hopped into a car, and a Lawndale citizen saw this event actually happening, and he actually blocked the suspects from leaving in their vehicle while simultaneously calling the sheriff's department. Deputies responded, and Deputy Mendoza and reserve deputies Walda and Dusky arrived and actually took the 3 men in custody and ended up arresting them for robbery. So those are the 3 main incidents that occurred. As you can see, our deputies are doing some great OBS work, which is keeping our citizens safe. We had a citizen get involved. We might not necessarily want that to occur all the time, because you never know if something worse could happen. But in this case, everything worked out, and we appreciate the citizens' assistance in this matter. If you have any questions for me, I'm here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. I have one question for you from.
Well, just wanted to welcome you again. We said aye at the parade last week.
Right.
Welcome to your first official council meeting. Something that I've been a chronic thing I've been bringing to the attention of the city manager, and the deputies have done a great, Sergeant Nitz back there and the past lieutenants, some of these homeless camps that are along the freeway. But what I'm noticing around town, just in recent weeks, a lot more tents set up. Just over on 164th, there was a tent right on the sidewalk. It's one thing you feel for the transients if they're more or less not blocking the public right-of-way. When it's blocking a public sidewalk, it's, you know, it's over the line. So I noticed around town several more of those. So I just want to ask, the deputies are actively, if they see that, they'll kind of keep them moving?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Right.
they should be, and I'll definitely talk to Sergeant Nitz about it, and we'll definitely be looking at that and taking care
Yeah,
of it.
I know it's endless, because as soon as you take care of one, it keeps popping up.
That's what we're here, though.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, though.
Yeah, I know the businesses appreciate it when they have their storefronts cleared. Thank you.
Councilwoman Suarez.
I just wanted to say, welcome to the team, and I look forward to working with you.
Oh, thank you very much.
And once
Welcome, welcome. We'll get you on the circle to
All
our,
right, Tom.
Thank you.
We already interviewed you.
And once again, welcome to the city of Lawndale and South Los Angeles. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yep.
Take care.
that's what I was about to say. Welcome to, and we'll get you into the circuit of our neighborhood watches.
Oh, yeah, and I'll definitely, looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
take
sir.
care.
Okay, next item on our agenda is oral communications. Oral communications, when you have the opportunity to speak to this body, being the Lawndale City Council, on items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak to the Lawndale City Council on items that are not on the agenda, we ask that you line up by the flag. When it becomes your turn, if you will come to the podium, if you would start with your name first, we would appreciate that. At about 2 minutes, the amber light will come on, and that'll give you the signal to start wrapping things up. Let's have our first speaker. I believe it's our librarian.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want to take the time to bring a few things to your attention, just letting you guys know what's going on at the library. On Saturday, May 11th, we have a bilingual family story time for our Dia de los Niños celebration. That's from 11 to 11:45. We are also having, and this is for kids, we have a BattleBot Robotics workshop. Our first session started already, but we have a session starting on May 24th. And that's a 3-week session. And that's from 3:30 to 5 on May 24th, 31st, and June 7th. And they can sign up at the library for that. For teens, we have coming up yoga for teens. That's Thursday, May 9th from 4 to 5. And we have Adult 101 for stress management. And that's April, oh, no, it's not April. That's in May, May 24th from 4 to 5. And that's just for teens get stressed out, just like we do. So we wanna give them tools to, to learn how to cope with that stress. For adults, we have a Seniors Tech Club, computer classes for seniors. It's a 4-week series, May 10th through 31st, from 12 to 2. I have, space is limited for that. I have 7 signups. I have 3 left. So anyone can come and sign up for that at the reference desk. And I just want to say, I know we met our new captain today. I've worked at a lot of different libraries, and occasionally we have to call the police, and I've had to call Lawndale a few times, and they are just great. They're amazing. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. But thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Pam London, 171st. There was a time when the city council was asked repeatedly by different property owners in the city to waive the underground wiring because there was that back door in that code. And never failed, they were granted that waiver. Then city council saw to it that that code was changed to take that back door out. So now we have this fence thing that I'm not happy about, and I did go to the last planning commission meeting, and now I see that if we're going to talk about cul-de-sacs by the railroad tracks, then I think 3 properties will be able to have a 5-foot fence. And this is being done for a household that has not even addressed their code case because their hedges are still as tall as they ever were. I don't understand why the city would bend over and change a code for one household. And it's a code that, I'm sorry, but this is the type of property that I don't even think it should apply because it is one lot. It is not a divided lot. It is one lot. So there's a driveway down the middle, so that means that one side will be granted this extra height and the other side will not. So if you guys decide to adopt this, the next meeting, I hope that you will consider the fact that the other property owner in the front unit needs to be well informed before giving anybody permission on that property to have a taller fence, because their property is going to look awful strange and lopsided. But I don't understand why you would even consider it, and especially if they're not even going to address their code case. But that seems to be common in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, with that, we'll close public comments, and we'll bring it up to the diocese for any comments from the council members if they wish. Let's start with Councilmember Daniel Reed.
I just want to say thank you for everybody that spoke, and thank you for everyone who's shown up this evening. Appreciate the updates on the library, and I'd like to go to one of those robotics sessions. That would be nice. Pass it on.
Okay, Councilmember Pat Kearney.
I want to piggyback on Councilman Reed's comments and say ditto and pass it on to my young lady to the left, right of me.
Councilwoman Suarez.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that came out and spoke tonight. Thank you, Miss Librarian, for coming. We missed those updates for a while. Thank you, Miss London, for coming and speaking. I know you must have spoke too at the Planning Commission, so that if it does come back, then you can speak again, and then we'll have a discussion. And with that, I'll pass it along.
Mayor Pro Tem.
You guys already covered it. I'm just the last in line here.
Okay, I too want to thank the speakers for coming today and speaking, and we will visit the issue of the fence issue and look at the Planning Commission's recommendation at I believe it's the May 10th meeting. When is it? At a future meeting that's coming up.
Mr. Mayor, it'll be coming the second meeting, council meeting.
Which meeting? Say it again.
I believe it's the second meeting in
15th.
The 15th,
okay.
Yes.
There you go, May 15th. So we'll take a look at that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. With that, we will move our agenda along, and we are now at the consent calendar. What is the pleasure of this body concerning the consent calendar?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, the motion's been made by Reed and seconded by Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the council please vote on the consent calendar?
Motion approved unanimously.
Thank you. Next item, under administration, item number 5, concerning the Cable Commission dissolution. Maybe we should have a staff report. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. The following ordinance before you would amend sections of Chapter 2.4 of the Lawndale Municipal Code by removing the Cable Commission and any references to it. Currently, the Cable Commission is vacant due to its inability to convene a quorum. Only 2 of the 3 past members have reapplied, and there's been no new interest in membership. The commission has been relatively inactive and has not passed any significant action in recent years, and also has limited content in its meetings. Therefore, staff is recommending dissolving the body. If approved, staff would begin updating policies to shift responsibility and duties to staff and city council. That concludes my report.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that staff report. Let's have some discussion on this, the proposal to the dissolution of the Cable Commission. Who wants to speak?
Otherwise, I have something to say.
It doesn't have to be sequence. Whoever wants the floor first.
Well, I would say that I actually have mixed feelings on this. I can understand if the participation level's low or whatever. I can see where you're coming from, but I hate to dissolve a body like that, because once it's done, I don't see it coming back. And historically, this has happened before. We've had incidents. It was in article in the newspaper some dozen years ago where we couldn't fill planning, we couldn't fill other commissions, and then the city did a little greater outreach and was able to fill those positions. In the past, let me clarify, this body used to meet every other month, didn't they,
I believe.
years ago?
Historically,
Right.
back when this met on a regular basis was years ago when we had PEG fees that were coming at a very high amount. Then what they would do is review the budget and review the PEG fee allocations where the money went. Today, the PEG fees, they cover such a fraction of the operations now. In the past several years, the only obligation they've had is to review the budget, which is basically a review of a minimal amount that is then put towards the operations, which are supplemented from the general fund. So,
Well, I know there was other functions that they did historically. I remember Councilman Ramsey's wife, Fran, was on the body at one time. She served as sort of a executive producer role for various productions the station made. I mean, has staff given thought, you're saying this once a year, that's just by circumstance, right? That's not by
requirement.
planned schedule.
Correct. They meet once every 2 months, but currently they're just.
That was the
meeting
old,
once
or
a
that
year.
was the planned schedule. was to be
That's
every
the
2
planned
months.
schedule now to meet.
And I'm real reluctant to just kill it. I'm thinking, try one more time, maybe make the schedule quarterly, even if it's biannually, rather than just wipe it clean. And then I would add, increase the outreach to try and get some more. I mean, this is a city of 33,000 people. I just can't imagine that there's not, you got 2 members who are currently active and you just need 3 more. I just can't imagine we can't find 3 people willing to come in maybe on a quarterly basis, 4 times a year to meet and review.
And staff has also kicked around in beginning stages of starting maybe a new commission or another board or body that maybe expands upon not just cable,
Well, that was another
but
thought,
other
yeah.
forms of technology.
I
and
thought the
kind of
same thing,
innovation.
to expand the duties.
I think because cable is so narrow,
Right.
that leads to its limited membership.
And I'd be okay with that. If we expanded the duties, we've talked about, we have the YouTube channel, streaming, all those things I would think would be related and could be part of the body's agenda to look at. So rather than just kill it clean, I think maybe just give it another chance and try to find a few people in the city who are willing to serve. That's just my thoughts.
Anyone have some observations?
When is their next scheduled meeting? Do you know?
Not off the top, I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I say let's wait till the next scheduled meeting. If they don't have 3 by then, I'm going to recommend that we kill cable.
Well, here's the thing. For me, it's not a matter of getting participants. Yes, currently, yeah, there's 2 members, but you're absolutely right. I mean, we can absolutely find another person to fill that 3-person seat. So for me, that's not really what's germane. It's not really the issue. For me, the issue is, having a body, a governmental body that essentially has no function and really hasn't really had a function for a while. But it's one of those things that in government, when you create something and it has a life when you first create it, and then once it has a useful purpose, we have the tendency to continue to go, to breathe new life into it, even though it no longer exists. There's a lot of agencies like that, not in our city in particular, but in the state or what have you. As you can see in the staff report, one of their main duties, like we mentioned earlier, was when we did franchise fees, where the cable company had to come to the city to get a franchise from the city. Cable companies no longer have to come to the city to get a franchise. It's automatic, or it goes through the state. The state pretty much took that over. And with those franchise fees came some funding in which the Cable Commission was in charge of allowing local producers to produce local programming, to make sure that those grants are available to the community, to make sure they're appropriate for airing and things of that nature. And so that had some useful purpose. At this point, I just don't see the useful purpose in the commission, because they no longer give those fees. They no longer give out grants. They no longer even manage, per se, or oversee, if you will, the cable channel or what have you. So I'm looking for the duties, basically, of a government body.
Just a moment ago suggested an expansion of the duties to cover some of the new things the city's doing in terms of its YouTube channel, its streaming potential, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I don't have any problem if we determine that there is a need to have a technology committee that will do various things that have to do with technology, and maybe even if for some reason if cable is under that, if that would be the case, I have no issue with that, because if it's needed, then that's needed. What I'm speaking of right now is the planning commission itself and the dues for planning commission. You would still would abolish the planning commission and start a new board if you needed to, with different, different duties or what have you. So it would constitute a new committee, even though it may have a cable component to it, if in fact it would have a cable component to it. But as it stands today, it's a body that's not doing anything in the city.
Well, we have a member in the audience tonight. I wonder what that member's opinion is of this. I haven't spoken to her, so I don't know. Would you be willing to offer your 2 cents, Lenore? You just found out about it? Could you come to the podium? I'm just curious your opinion.
And I'm welcome to hear her opinion, but the issue really at hand is, at this point, do we have a commission that serve a useful purpose in the city? Because not only is it a commission, but being so, we got staff time that's dedicated to it, and all the things that go with it. Being a commission.
Say that about
if we can say the answer is yes, then the answer is yes. I just don't see it. Maybe it's there and I just don't see it.
Well, as I just
That's
offered,
what I'm saying.
Lenore, would you come to the podium and just offer your 2 cents? I'm curious just to hear from you what your opinion is.
I'll just add quickly, and I think her comments were certainly welcomed. Even when we had a full commission, the meetings were still canceled because the staff member really had no business to bring to them. I think Lenore will confirm that, but certainly looking at expanding duties or a different commission would be something to look at.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your opinion on all this?
Lenore Bemis. I'm on the Cable Commission. Our job was people that wanted money for the activities they had, like the sheriff, the schools, et cetera, Anyway, we came and before Tom and gave him direction as to what we felt it was a good idea, this amount of money for whatever it was. And that was our job. However, there was lots of times that we didn't have anything. So little by little, we were meeting every other month, and it got less and less because of the fact this wasn't going on, that wasn't going on, so it got less and less. So actually, it's been a year, I think, something like that, since we've had actually a meeting at that point that there was really business. So, and since it wasn't just a total volunteer thing, I think it's kind of what you people feel that is necessary.
Well, it is volunteer in the sense that people volunteer to join it, just like all the appointed bodies. I guess the 2 questions I would have, Lenore. One, do you think it's worthwhile to have those expanded duties attached to the body, or do you think the body just needs to end and go away?
Well, I kind of have mixed feelings on it. If we don't have anything to do, it's just like we're postponing it. That part, if it got to the point that we were helping out the schools and doing things with the sheriff and things like that, that we had a lot going on back when I first got on it, so.
Yeah, well, that's me. I have mixed feelings on it too, but
it's up to you.
I value your opinion. Do you think it's worth saving or not? That's kind of the bottom line. You think it's worth saving the commission or not, I guess, is the bottom line.
Like I said, I've got mixed emotions about it.
Well,
but if it's taking a lot of people's time for us just to even have our meetings, so it's a lot of people involved. So.
Well, it's you, Tom, and.
I mean, I'll be here for them if that's the way you guys go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Anyone else have any thoughts on?
Well, I mean, I kind of agree. If we don't have anything that we can breathe life into it, that's not really worth keeping it going. But if we find that we've got 3 more folks that can jump and they have some ideas and they want to bring into the table and start trying to promote this again, I think that would be a key. So some energy to come in and attempt to try to revitalize the plans. I mean, you can always work on something for grants from something else, but still you have to have a vision and folks that are willing to put some energy into trying to bring something to bear.
Because the body is supposed to be a directional force that can present ideas to staff and drive it.
Yeah.
What is the next scheduled meeting, if they had one?
I believe we just canceled one. It'd probably be in 2 more months.
In 2 more months, okay.
I believe that's accurate.
And does this body do any fundraising at all, or in the past or present, it's just goes off of the fees from?
That's correct.
Okay, okay. I mean, I'm okay with if we look at 2 other commissions maybe, and then put like under an umbrella, and then kind of use that, but I'm wondering too, if we do garner interest, if we can get some of those people too to look at, you know, it says encourage, television programming and production, producing cable productions of interest, maybe even looking outside, you know, with other partners, Spectrum and whatnot, they have their own cable station, maybe trying to see if there's something that we can generate interest and whatnot for this. So maybe if we look until the next meeting, see if anyone is interested, if not, go the route of doing another commission and putting this under that.
Yeah, I would say if it's not, I mean, this is not an urgent pressing item.
No, it's not.
And
It's not
if they
pressing.
didn't, I mean, if staff, if the city did a little more outreach, and if they still didn't find anybody, and it looks like there's gonna be no expansion of duties, then, yeah, if I could see disbanding it. But if there is the chance that those new services that the city's talking about with the streaming, with all these things, I'd still like to see it saved if it's possible, but if it has to go, it has to go. I just don't think it's something you have to decide right this minute.
Okay. Yeah, oh, I thought you had something. Okay, now, I do agree that it's not an urgent matter, it's just, you know, house cleaning matters, and we definitely can revisit it, but I definitely want to revisit it and don't want to just let it continue just because we failed to revisit it.
This, you know, when the staff item
and
came out, I think that was the first any of us heard about it. I didn't hear about this as a pressing need until the book came out.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, it's not pressing. It's like we have to do it tonight. Councilwoman Suarez, I think you mentioned, I was trying to see where you was reading that at the programming. I believe that program is a reference to when the community was allowed to do community programming. No matter how we reconfigure this, the community won't be doing community programming. So that will not be coming back because you can't take grant money and then allow them to, well, not grant money, allow them to do community programming and produce community programming and then air it. When we had the dedicated, and Tom can speak to this better, when we had the dedicated channels or what have you, then we would air those community programs that was funded by the grants.
The grants.
On that channel, but that mechanism is no longer here, and that's what that was speaking of, those type of programmings, not necessarily finding, you know, programming, you know, like, say, for instance, if there was, you know, KBC, you know, a programming that fit that slot. No, these was community-produced programming, but we still wouldn't have that mechanism, no matter how we would do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. The issue with the funding is, you know, the PEG fees used to fund a lot of activity, which we don't have anymore. And if you recall, we bought a cable van plus other equipment that exceeded $600,000. Part of that was pledging future PEG fees, which are not a lot, but they were pledged to repaying the general fund. We are doing local program. We're doing Lawndale Living on a somewhat infrequent basis. We used to do the sports program that was taking up, you know, in this range of $70,000 to $80,000 a year, and the high school district refused to assist in funding us filming all of their sports programs. So we're not doing that anymore. We are doing Lawndale Living, as I said. We've been trying to do something called a Lawndale Minute updates. Our cable supervisor has been talking to us about producing a cooking show, utilizing our kitchen across the street with local restaurants that want to come in. This would be at a minimal cost, but using existing employees with the budget that we do have. So without increasing our budget quite a bit, we have one full-time person and a number of part-time people, and they're doing what they can within that budget. So again, if we want to increase it, bring in more people, we certainly can look at other programming, but as we move forward, you're going to see with our existing budget, we're pretty much status quo. So it is difficult, and with the changes in the franchise laws and the cable laws, the revenues have gone down quite a bit, whereas in the past, in fact, Councilmember Osborne reminded me that, or informed me, because I wasn't here at the time, that some of the cable commissioners used to serve as like producers for programs and help with programming and ideas, as was referenced. And that has, you know, pretty much changed over the years, just things have evolved. And of course today we're looking at the YouTube, we're looking at other means of getting our media out there and having it more accessible. So whether it's the cable commission or some variation, coming back with a whole new idea. Again, this is presented for the pleasure of the council. We essentially have not had regular meetings for a number of years. They're constantly canceled because of just the way the fiscal environment has evolved over the last few years. So again, whatever direction, if you want us to wait on this, come back with some other ideas. Maybe it's dissolving this and creating a whole new body with a combination of things, or, you know, again, council's pleasure, and we're just looking for direction.
Okay. I think you kind of summed it up, Mr. City Manager, to take a look at it and see if there are opportunities to dissolve the board and to come up with another board with whatever's appropriate that has to do with cable being part of that body.
I'm okay with that.
But we're not asking to create another board just for the sake of creating another board, because we don't want to dissolve a board, but for a board that's useful and that we have a need for.
We could
then that would
revisit
be
it
fine too.
pending the next, what, 2 months, you said, the next meeting?
It's 2 months.
After that.
Okay, yeah, let's do that if that's the pleasure of the board. That's okay.
Say it again?
You gotta revisit.
The whole thing? No,
Repeat.
Yeah, the whole thing.
No,
Okay. You want me to say it again?
no, you wanted to dissolve this board and come up with a new one, or continue?
Well, before we dissolve the board, we're gonna see if there's opportunities to, do we have need for a similar board that will embrace technology and all other facets of communications, right? Including cable, if in fact that should be part of the new board, if in fact we do even do a new board.
We may still kill it anyway,
Yeah.
but there's no giant rush to do.
So we're gonna wait the next meeting and see if,
Well, 2
Well,
months.
that's the
Yeah,
fact.
next meeting of the cable, after the cable.
yeah, it's every 2 months, correct?
Right.
Correct,
is
but
not
they
necessary.
currently don't have a quorum, so they can't meet
I know, they have no
right now.
meetings.
They
But
have
that-
no meetings.
I think the
as-
last meeting they had is when I think Chris Beamer was
We have
still
two active
a
members.
cable commissioner.
Lenore and Bob.
Well, I was just gonna say, that's
You
not
need
even.
3.
No.
Yeah, but
So
you
you're
have
never
two
gonna have another meeting.
Okay, I was just gonna say, whether they have a meeting or not does not necessarily trigger when we should, take a look at it. So
And we
that's
do
kind
have-
of a mute
We
point.
do have another city event, the Health and Safety Fair coming up. Couldn't staff just put out some notices there on the table about the vacancies?
And we've had it on
And-
the website.
And
we've had
remember,
it on
it's,
our,
and remember, it's not
webpage and
about just the
Facebook.
vacancy, because I can go out tomorrow and get, it's one person, right? I can go out tomorrow and get one person that'll say, yes, sign me up.
And why don't
I'll be a commissioner. That's not the issue here. The issue is whether or not the board is still necessary. That's the issue.
That's not what sparked it, though. What
That's
sparked
the
it was
issue
the
here.
lack of a quorum.
Well, no, even when they have a quorum, they don't have nothing to do at this meeting for which they have a quorum.
So they
That's what we're
cancel.
trying to rectify.
So you can have a quorum all you want, but if you don't have anything to do while you're meeting, then it's really insufficient government,
Again,
resources.
that's what we talked about rectifying.
Well, yeah, I know, that's why I'm just saying, it has nothing to do with whether or not they have a quorum. It has nothing to do with how many people, the fact that there's one vacancy on it and they don't have a quorum, because we can get someone tomorrow, and I would still be of the opinion of whether or not the commission is still needed.
Yeah, I understand the heart of the matter, but the fact is, the spark of this was they weren't getting a quorum. They didn't have the membership. So, it's a two-part problem.
So let's take a look, so we'll agree that we'll
Yeah,
we'll
got a
take a
couple
look
of
at it and
months.
see whether or not we want to dissolve it, or we want to create a whole new board with maybe a
Change.
cable component to
Okay,
that
but
new
what's the
board.
timeline? We're gonna give them until next year? What?
No, we talked a
They've
couple
only met,
months.
only have 2 members of this commission right now.
What's a good timeline? Let's ask the clerk department.
To develop a sort of,
What's the count-
to see if we need another type, like a technology and
Yes.
innovation, if there's a need for that in the
Yes.
city.
Yes.
3 to 4 months to really explore it. I know there's budgetary considerations regarding, developing new technology within the city, so I'd like to see that go through first, and then after that.
Okay.
Yeah, to date, the
Let's do that.
review, their function has been to look at a budget that is basically a bare bones budget with really no flexibility to change. So we could bring this back sometime this summer, August, September. in the meantime, even if we had a full board, the supervisor would be canceling these because there is no business to go before them. So we'll bring it back sometime in the late summer and have another discussion if you like.
How's that?
I have a question. If we go this technology, they won't fall under the cable, will they? They'll fall into the IT direction.
We'd probably look at, it might even fall under the clerk's office. I mean,
communications.
our deputy clerk has been very active with
I
our
think we just-
YouTube page and Facebook page and a lot of our media.
We're tiptoeing
concepts.
around the issue of dissolving this planning, so I'm gonna make a motion, we dissolve
What-
the cable commission.
Well, well, let me just second it so I can just do some,
Okay.
so then we can have a discussion on it. So I'll second the motion. And what I was gonna say is that we can, even if we dissolve it today, because it just dawned on me as we was discussing it, if we still feel that we have a need to have some type of technology committee that will embrace also cable, what have you, there's nothing that would preclude us from starting that body. Conversely, there's nothing precluding us from dissolving it today, because
As long as the will.
as of today, there is, yeah, as long as there's a will, yeah, absolutely. As of today, there is really not a governmental function for the cable commission as of today.
Correct. And if you made a motion and it passed to dissolve and you added a provision there that we come back on a certain date or by a certain date, then we would certainly follow that direction also.
Well, when's the last time they did meet? Do we have that date?
It was last year, I believe, sometime in August.
Okay. So I'm okay with dissolving it, but if we do look at, whatever duties, if there were any, or maybe then to also look into technological-based commission, because I think that's the way things are going. So I think that would really be important to explore and maybe have, input regarding that.
Absolutely. We could send you a history of the meetings for the last year. We have a record.
Sure, yeah, for all commissions. I'm gonna oppose it just because I think keep it in place and then change it.
Okay, then
Would be the way I'd go.
Then we'll take a look at, see what staff recommendations, if any.
But you guys can vote yes.
Okay, is there any more discussion?
Can I
on
have
the
one
motion?
more question?
Yes.
Is there a time frame too for when you would, for
asking me?
Councilmember Osborne? Yeah, is
Oh, I
there
said
like?
2 months because that's what she said the next meeting was. That was all I was thinking. Decide in 2 months if you want to kill it or not.
I'm okay with 2 months. That's in between the 4 and the 2.
I'm not saying no forever. I'm just
If
saying.
that's what, if
Let
that's what
staff,
makes them comfortable.
let staff look at this, work on it a little bit.
Are you saying you're okay with the 2 months for the staff to bring back recommendations?
Yeah, and if it
any-
makes Councilmember Osborne, or Mayor Pro Tem Osborne more comfortable waiting the 2 months out, then I'm okay with that. I mean, if there's no immediate need to dissolve it.
There's no immediate need. This isn't like life or death or.
Yeah, there is no, yeah, I mean, I will agree there is no immediate need to dissolve it. Yeah, obviously, there's no emergency on this. My question and my concern is why are we waiting for 2 months or what have you?
Because staff is going to
When we
look
can
at
look-
it and they
but
may
if we decide to
change
if
the
we decide, but that would
structure and the
constitute-
duties of the body.
But that would constitute a new board.
It may.
If it constitutes a new board,
That would be council's
then why
decision
would-
if you want to
Well-
retitle it, have a different
Yeah.
title for it.
But if you have a different title and you have different duties, which includes things that are not currently under the cable commission duties, it constitutes a new board.
Yeah, and that can be decided in a couple
Yeah,
months.
it would constitute a new board. And if that's the case, we can do that, not married to a certain timeline, like 2 months or what have you.
Not
That
necessarily.
could happen in a month, that could happen in a
Not
year.
necessarily, yeah.
It doesn't have to be anchored to a
Well, we
certain
heard
time.
staff just say a minute ago, you said 4 or 5 months, right? That was what you were throwing out there.
Well,
Yeah, roughly, if we were developing a brand-new
Wow.
commission, if we were dead set on doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the mechanics of it are really a moot point.
Yeah.
If we kill it today and plan to bring something back, then we set up a whole new and we establish a whole new piece.
Yeah.
If we give them some time to look, does the budget for technology have some capacity for us? Then are there some ideas that can go into it to put a board to work on it? That would be things to do. I mean, do we really need to kill it tonight? Probably not. If we do, put a caveat on it. bring back some ideas. Do you have a technology budget? Do you have some ideas to put into it?
There you go.
In order to do that.
Well-
With a caveat like that, I would be willing to say, okay, let's move on and bring it back.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Without
that's
it,
what,
I would oppose it too.
I agree
Why
with
just close it to close it? Let's have the discussion. We can rename it and reorganize it.
yeah.
Exactly.
Rather than closing it completely and bringing it back as something brand spanking new.
I'm with you.
There's no expense going out of it, so there's no reason to halt it at the specific moment that would save us $1,000 in the next 3-4 months. So give some time for staff to come back with the ideas of what we've been talking about.
That's the
That's my-
thinking.
My opinion.
Yeah.
And maybe also too,
Yeah.
to get input from the current people that had applied, it may be something they'd be interested as well.
That's right. Yeah, there's no urgency.
Yeah, I agree, there's no urgency. But I just want to make sure that it's actually, now, what did we agree the timeline might be? I know you said 6 months, but we're not talking 6 months.
I didn't hear 6.
I believe I said 4, if you guys want to go that way to develop a brand-new board. If you guys just dissolve it, then we'd look into the possibility or the need assessment of a technology board. Depends on what.
That's, you can still do it regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to take any action tonight. You can, that's direction given, and they can bring something back.
Yeah, okay. I see. No, I understand what you're saying. So, so there is a motion on the floor. I didn't forget about the motion on the floor. Either the motion.
No, I'll
either we
withdraw
can
my
continue or
motion.
you can withdraw.
I'm going to withdraw
Okay.
my motion.
So the motion has been withdrawn, which means the second has been withdrawn
But
as well.
I want a timeline.
Yep, I'm good with that.
He gave you a timeline.
Well, Steve said August, and that's way too long.
When is,
And I want to know where it's going to fall under, either cable or IT.
Right, I'm with you.
Good point.
yeah, it sounded like an IT thing.
So I think a couple of months, probably come up with something, right?
I'm just thinking tie it.
Some ideas.
Yeah.
So May, June,
And how
Maybe
much-
in July.
July.
And how much
We're
it's
already
gonna
in May
cost
now.
us.
In June, we're busy with the budget and whatever we develop, it's the cost is gonna be the staff time and overtime that's already there. It's just a matter, but really it's back to, is there a need?
And then we also have to
Yeah.
factor in, I remember that we have I imagine it still stands, the ad hoc technology committee.
That's correct. 2 council members serve on that.
Council members.
So maybe a meeting
How
of
does
that would be
How does that
appropriate too.
factor in?
Yeah.
as
We
well?
might have to bring
Yeah.
a
Sounds like
meeting.
direction to
I
me.
think you and I will.
Or
on that.
both.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll be the order?
Yeah, sounds like good direction.
Can we
Everybody okay?
also add to schedule an ad hoc committee in between then?
Yeah, but we don't have, we can't do that today though.
We haven't had a
Yeah, we'll verify. I believe it's
Okay.
Mayor
That's you.
Paula Miles and Mayor Pro
No,
Tem
no,
Osborne on
No,
the
that's,
technology, or did we change it?
Oh,
We changed it.
sir.
I need to check
yeah,
that.
he was on there a while.
So we'll check that, and then, like I said,
Okay.
in July, we can have something,
Okay.
and an
very
update in between if necessary.
Sounds
Very good. Okay, with that,
6. Number 6.
yeah, every once in a while we have lively discussions. Okay.
That's what you're supposed to do, is debate things
Okay,
out.
item number 6 on our agenda, a budget adjustment for
The
the
newbie.
quarter. Who's gonna give?
The
it?
newbie.
I'll just give a brief introduction, as I've been doing past couple of months since we've been showing you these new reports. Really for the greater transparency of things that we've been pursuing and wanting to have, and our finance director, Marla Pendleton, is going to present you a budget adjustment process that we're going to be implementing to account for the actual expenditures that are happening in all the departments, rather than just overspending an account. And as we used to hear, it'll all come out in the wash. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to be accounting for everything, so you can
Good.
see how things are tracked. So I'll turn that over to our director and let you hear a report, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you. So, last council meeting, I went through a budget update on where we're at with the general fund. I went through the numbers a little bit thorough, and now I'm actually proposing the adjustments that I feel need to be done so that we have our budget in line with where our actual revenue and expenses are for the year. Looking at the revenue for the general fund, It is going to come out about $710,000 more than what we originally budgeted. So I took the largest accounts where it was 100,000 or more and are proposing adjustments for those specific accounts. In the area of sales tax, we're estimating 100,000 more. Measure L had not been proposed for an adjustment. We're going to have 3 months of that at about 500,000. Building permits have increased as far as encroachment and then building permits themselves. 220,000 is what I'm recommending an increase. And then we also have interest on our redevelopment loan of 117,000, so I rounded that to 100,000 for budget adjustments. Those are the increases, 910,000. We've got two of our accounts that are a little bit short compared to the budget, so I want to reduce those. One is utility user taxes, 120,000, and then we have an operating transfer in where we don't have the need for that transfer for 80,000. So that will net to the 710,000 that I'm recommending we increase overall, the net. Speaking with the departments as far as budget, I think the biggest budget is my department's budget because of the retirement of the director, it was about 70,000. But going through the specific accounts where it is right now, it is actually 55,000 that we need to be able to meet our budget. And that is in the area of salaries, 20,000. Contract services, because we had a single audit this year, so we need to increase that 20,000. And then temporary staffing, because we had people that were out on leave, so we're basically shifting the money from our full-time salaries into temporary help for the year. So that's 55,000. Public Works has some immediate needs for air conditioning and fumigation, and that is 17,000 that they need to make their budget whole and be able to respond promptly on the community center as well as City Hall working on the air conditioning units. In addition, we have a sale of property this year, and what I'm requesting, we're going to have about $1.4 million. I'm requesting that we use that for ongoing fees that we need to do or expenses for our general plan, our specific plan, and that will be used over 3 years. So instead of using the ongoing budgets for 3 years, I would like to hold that money aside and specifically use that because it's one-time expenses for that one-time revenue. We also have a few transfers. Most of our transfers should be budgeted, but this particular one isn't. So it looks kind of odd in the budget. So this is just basically cleanup entries. Our housing set aside is 20% of what's coming in. So we need to actually set that money with a transfer between funds. So the total amount is $222,000 approximately. And then we also have bond proceeds that we need to have a estimated increase and revenue increase for that, $174,000. So that's overall all of the adjustments that I see that need to be prepared to the budget so that the budget is in line with where our actual revenue, expenses, and transfers are at this point.
I'd like to just add something quickly to this. I mean, there's a lot of information there, and one of the items that was mentioned was the sale of the property and the $1 million or so that we're going to receive. Typically, that would go into reserves, and it could go into reserves, and then we'd have to use that to fund the general plan review, which our Community Services Director, Sean Moore, has been telling us we're overdue on. We need to do this. It has to be done. So as a finance director, we're looking at ways of basically budgeting and creating line items, and we're tracking everything much better than we had. Related to our reserves, as you know, we used to, the policy the council had implemented was 100% of our operating budget. We used to get reports that were at 150, 140%, and as we learned, that included receivables, which we may never get. At one point, we were down to based on what I had reports on, we were looking at basically 40-some% of our operating budget reserves, and when we did our outside audit, we learned we had 29% of our operating budget in reserves. And I'm going to put the finance director on the spot, and if you don't have the answer, I don't want you to respond, but one of the questions that keeps coming up and we were looking for, and Marla, I don't know that you have dug into this part yet, but if not, we can get the answer in the future. But in your review and based on the incoming revenues from the state as we get each year, have you come up with I'm putting her on the spot. She doesn't, I don't know if she even knows the answer. If not, we'll get it. Because I hate asking questions like this, but do you know about how many years it might take us to get at 100% based on the return we're looking at, or have you had even a chance to look at that yet?
It's my fault, Marla. I asked him.
It is his fault.
I take the blame. I'm sorry.
It's a good question, though.
Well, with my long history here, let me tell you. I am looking right now at cash flows. I haven't looked at the number of years it will take to get our reserves back up, but I am looking at cash flows really for investment purposes right now, but I will look into that. I have not yet, so I don't have an answer right at this moment.
It's not the immediate future, I can tell you that. The return from the state, I think we've been looking at about $900,000 a year at this point. So if you round that to $1 million, and currently we're at 29% of our 17+ million, it's a number of years into the future, but it is something that we can get together. And again, I raised it only in case, because I know she's been so busy looking at all the reports, but we will get that. It was a very good question.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions of the report? First of all, thank you for that report.
Very much appreciated.
I have one question for the city manager. On the expenditures, the HVAC repairs needed for City Hall, didn't we just do that last year with all the ongoing?
We did, and there were some overages, and I don't have the reports in front of me. I don't know, Marla, do you recall the exact reason for the additional money? I know we had some outside work that needed that was not part of the contract.
I'm sorry, are you
The
talking
HVAC
about?
The HVAC?
Okay, yeah, I have the actual numbers. Are you talking about City Hall?
Correct.
Okay, for City Hall, they need to fix the flow switch for the boiler, which is $4,000. So I've got estimated amounts for various jobs that are all in that category at different sites.
I didn't know the dollar amount, but that is a switch that was outside of the repairs. That is separate from the work that we had done. It was a separate component that has failed, and we believe that's what's causing the regulation to be offset and causing it to be cold.
It's a new problem.
It's a new problem.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
And I would agree that the sale of the property, the former redevelopment agency property, where we yield about $1 million, should be used for the general plan review, because we're simply going to use that money anyway. Whether we earmark it for the general plan review or we put it in reserves, we're going to end up pulling it out anyway, because we have to have the general plan updated. And so, rather than put it in reserve and have to pull it out, we might as well dedicate it to the general plan review. So I agree with that. With that, that's all I have, unless someone else have anything. Okay, good report. So we're just receiving file. We need the motion for this. Okay, what is the pleasure of this body concerning the report?
Make a motion to go with staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, so the motion has been made by Reed and second by Pat Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, with the council, please vote.
Motion approved unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, items from council members. Let's start with Councilmember Daniel Reed.
So say, before we go down there, do we have a little announcement that we need?
You want me to go first?
Okay.
I'm gonna tap the city manager to make an announcement before we
I
do
understand
this.
the mayor or the Councilmember Kearney wanted to say something.
Well,
you want to go
Robert,
last?
do you want to go, or do you want me to go on the announcement? You and Dark about it?
Well, if that's the case,
Okay.
I'll speak
All right.
my piece and then
Well,
I'll
you
make
go
the announcement.
ahead and speak your piece.
Okay. So I did attend the Contract Cities meeting, the Easter event, and our parade, and the new extravaganza. There was a little bit of activity for those new things after the parade, so they're looking to expand that again. It was a fun day overall. And at that, I'd like to make a call out to the moms and wish you a happy Mother's Day. Passing it on.
All right. Thank you, sir. Councilmember Pat Kearney.
Oh, I'm perplexed. Are you going to make the announcement, or do you want me to make the announcement?
You could do it after our comments.
Go ahead and make, yeah, let's do it after our comments. Yeah, let's do it after our comments.
Okay.
Let's keep them in suspense. Let's keep them in
Okay.
suspense. Okay, how about
I
that?
also attended the Easter egg event, the parade, the Youth Government Day, and I want to shout out to May is Military Month. I want to thank all the vets present and past. Thank you. I pass it on.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Suarez.
Thank you. I attended the Youth and Government Day, the Youth Day Parade, the South Bay Cities Council of Governments Board of Directors meeting. I also attended this past weekend the SCAG, Southern California Association of Government Annual Conference. And last week I also attended, there was an event that Parents and Kids Helping Kids program. It's a partnership with Manhattan Beach Schools in Lawndale, and the kids, the students there were given the opportunity to make drawings, and then they put them on socks, and so they had an award ceremony, so that was fun, really cute. And then I also attended the Water Replenishment District Annual Groundwater Festival, and for anybody that hasn't been there, I recommend you go. They have lots of fun food, activities for all the kids, and my family always enjoys it, so I'll pass it on.
Very good. Mayor Pro Tem Osborne.
Well, I made some of those. Yeah, SCAG conference was great. Contract cities. Councilman Reed gave the outgoing president the proclamation on behalf of the city, and it was a nice event. Interesting, kind of a cold outdoor setting though, but it was interesting. And always a kudos to the staff for putting on the parade every year, and for the Youth and Government Day. They did a great job on both of those, as always. That's all.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I too attended the Youth and Government Day. The staff did a great job putting that event on for our young people at the our high schools. Also attended the Youth Day parade. Once again, it was a great parade. Nice weather for parade this year. It was yeah, excellent weather for parade. And it was a great touch with the school district, the extravaganza part. You know, I like saying that word, extravaganza. And so that was nice. We got a lot of good comments about that part. So people really enjoyed that. So thanks to the Lawndale Elementary School District for partnering with us on the parade. I also attended the Easter egg hunt as well. It was fun. I also attended the Expressions Arts program, which was held at the Will Rogers Middle School and also Mark Twain Middle School, where both schools did a joint kind of expressive art program, which consisted of a play, musical kind of a thing, and the kids really did a wonderful job. It took them months to really put on this program because it was a theatrical production, and it really gave the opportunity for the older children, being the junior high school students, to act with elementary school students. So that was kind of interesting to see elementary school students and the junior high school students in the same play in theatrical production. So that was really fun to see. I also attended the Lawndale Elementary School District. A group of children, about 60 children, went on a field trip to USC, as they go every year, and I had the opportunity to help sponsor their lunch. And they had a little photo opportunity as their parents saw them off to, as they went on their field trip to USC. I think that was this past Saturday, so I'm sure they had a good time there as well.
Can I interject?
Yes, ma'am.
I did hear mention when I was at the Legends event, the Kids Helping Kids program, they did mention that you donated, and to say thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Welcome. And I believe that's it for me. I think we covered it all. Okay. All right. Covered it all. But we do have an announcement. Yeah, we want to do an announcement before the closed session because we don't want to lose our audience before we make our big announcement when we go into closed session. So our city manager, Stephen Mendoki, has been with us for 8 years. Is that a Lawndale record?
Seems longer.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is a Lawndale record.
I think so.
And it has nothing to do with Lawndale. It's just when you're in a small city, city managers, they kind of come and they do their thing, and then they move on to different things, or what have you. But Steve Mandoki has been with us for 8 years, and he has provided excellent leadership and service to our city. And we're making the announcement tonight, although he really doesn't want us to make the announcement. We're going to make the announcement anyway. He's going to be retiring. So he's going to retire from the city of Lawndale. And so we're just fortunate enough to say that his retirement, although he's worked in, how many cities? Like at least 3 cities? 5 cities, okay, 5 cities. At least his retirement, he'll be able to say he's retired from the city of Lawndale. And so that would be our honor. And we want to congratulate you, Steve, for all your hard work and all your commitment to this city. I mean, when you came to this city, you just immediately jumped in and you became part of the community. You became part of the city. You really embraced the workers, because and you understand. You get it. You get that there's 5 bosses that you have to work with. Mm-hmm. I have a good friend that used to be the city manager in another city, and we had these conversations all the time. And he would say, "As long as I can keep 3 happy, I'm still good. As long as I can count to 3, I'm good."
That's what Larry used to say.
Because that's a hard thing to do when you work for 5, for 5 people, and you have to answer to 5. I'm fortunate I have 1 boss. When I say work for 5, meaning that you're at will, and you're at will and you work for 5 people. Yeah. And so to be able to manage those expectations from 5 individuals, the mayor and 4 council members, it takes a person that has the know-how and the political savviness and how can I say it, the fortitude, right?
Yep.
Because there's 4 or 5 elected officials. You've been in some cities that's not as cordial as the city of Lawndale. I'm not going to mention them. More rough and tumble than the city of Lawndale. But it takes a special person to be able to manage those personalities and manage those expectations. And I do have to say, Steve, you have done that well. Thank you. You have done an excellent job, and we're going to miss you. We wish you much success in your retirement. I tell you, we know you're ready for retirement because you was at the parade and you introduced me to someone. And all these years that I've known, you've never introduced me. I'm not gonna put your business on the street, but
you all got to meet her.
Right. We all got to meet her. So so that means you're really ready for retirement, right? Right. So you're ready to move on, and we just want to say congratulations. I'm letting anybody else speak if they want to have anything they want to say.
She does call Steve Stooky Bear.
No, she doesn't.
See, we never knew that.
That is a name you made up.
No. Well, he'll be here till July 5th. He's going to help with recruitment and the transition from his job to the new city manager, he or she position. And she does call you Stooky Bear.
Excellent. I believe it. I believe
he doesn't. That's what he calls me.
Oh, secret pet name, Pat.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful set of plans. It's been a good time, and I know we don't have to worry about you getting short timers because you've got that ethic and you'll be right here.
That's absolutely correct.
Really do appreciate, look forward to it when it gets here, and just keep it on up.
And I also think it's worth mentioning too that you are local, you grew up in this community and whatnot, so it's kind of nice to go, full circle and come back here. So we were lucky to have you. You were the only city manager I've known so far, on council. So, we got to pick another good one. So good luck, the best of luck, and I'm sure you'll keep in touch with us.
Stooky Bear.
Yes.
See?
That calls everybody that. No, Steve, we went to school together, in case you didn't know it, even though I didn't know him.
We didn't know each other.
I was a bad kid, he was a good kid.
That's why
That's hard to
crossed
believe.
paths.
That's hard to believe.
Right. But no, you came at a very tumultuous time, as 2 of my colleagues were here when all that was going on. So you have, from the get-go, you were a calming force. You expressed great leadership to all the staff, great interaction with the public. It was truly a blessing to get you here. And it was, as Bernadette said, a bit of a homecoming, come back to the neighborhood you grew up in. So, and you've seen and oversaw so much change from the opening of the community center and new parks and all sorts of improvements in the city that will be here for generations to come. So you've left your mark. So we'll see you again, I'm sure, at some event or some crossing somewhere. But best of luck in the future. You know, I retired 5 years ago. You're going to find out, if you don't already know, you'll be busier in retirement than you were working. It's just a natural fact.
Amen.
Yeah. But best of luck, and we'll, you know, people will get a chance to say goodbye and wish you well before the actual day comes.
I appreciate all your comments, and I really hadn't expected to say anything tonight. But I will say a few things, which is one, you're absolutely right. I've always hated the phrase count to three. I hate that phrase my whole career. My goal has always been to take care and make all 5 of you happy, beginning with Mayor Hoffman, Councilmember Rudolph, Jim, Pat, and Robert. You've been great to work for. It's been really good, and it was a great thing to come back. I grew up in Hawthorne over on Doty Avenue. Lived there since I was 8 years old, and then I, went to Lusinger High School.
You didn't have to mention that.
I did.
You did not have to mention that.
Losing.
Go Olympians, Pat. No. And it was a great coming back here to work in Lawndale. And I still remember getting the phone call from Mayor Hoffman, and telling me that they wanted me to come work for the great city of Lawndale, and I said absolutely. So. No, it's been really good. And I'm very proud of the directors we have on board, the changes that we've been able to make, and I think we have a really bright future. All the things that we have done financially, getting things improved, and just keep things going. And as you mentioned, I will be staying on after July 5th, but in a limited role, same role, but as needed, and we'll finish up the recruitment, and once the manager's selected, then that will be, that's when I'll finally leave. But yeah, whatever I can do, as you said, I will. And city's always been, always kept it, the best interest of the city at heart, and we'll continue to do so. So yeah, it's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
I just have one more little tidbit of history with Steve. I worked with Steve's dad at Lucky's, where Pet Boys is.
Yeah.
I was apprentice meat cutter, and his dad was a receiver
Yep.
in 1968.
Well, you are old.
Yeah.
Older than dirt, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, that was back when that was a Lucky Market. He was
Yep.
there when they first opened,
Yep.
and then I learned Pat worked there part-time, or was a meat cutter, and
Meat cutter,
he remembered my
yeah.
dad as a receiver,
Yeah.
and it's been great being back here.
Well, please join us in giving them a round of applause and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, it is 7:45, and we'll go into closed session.
Bits of business.
We're gonna,
2 more bits
yep,
of
we're
business.
gonna ask the city attorney to give us the provision for closed session.
We have 3 items of closed session. 2 are to confer regarding anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 5456.9D4. And the third is to confer with the labor negotiator regarding negotiations with the union pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Thank you.
Okay, we'll stand in recess.
I don't even remember picking that up. I just looked at it and go, wow, this word.
Okay, we have returned from closed session. I'm gonna ask the city attorney to give the report of the closed session.
This city council met in closed session on 3 items. The first 2 are agendized as item 8A. 8, in that item, the council voted unanimously to initiate litigation against the owners of 2 properties. One is at 4703 West 164th. The second is at 14421 Kingsdale. On the third item, the labor negotiations, the council was updated, no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. May 20th, okay, that's what I said. Okay, we're gonna conclude this meeting at, so our next regular scheduled meeting is gonna be May the 10th in these council chambers. The 20th, I wrote the 20th. 20th. May the 20th will be to be our regular scheduled meeting. These here council chambers. It is now 9:09, and we will adjourn this meeting until May the 20th. We are adjourned. I didn't see that on